UFC 300 is on the horizon, and we are here giving our biggest dream matches, not necessarily the most realistic fights, but the ones that we'd want to see and we believe the people would want to see as well. So, Sean, I'll let you kick it off. What is a dream UFC match that you would have loved to have seen at UFC 300?
Now, we just talked about it. It's not going to happen.
These are hypothetical.
Talking about it, I would have loved to have seen McGregor against Nate Diaz again.
Oh,
just for that trilogy fight. Mm-hmm. I mean, they've both said they've wanted it. McGregor coming off a huge long layoff. Nate Diaz, I think, is a free agent. I'm not sure what he's up to these days. Last fighting one of the Paul brothers in some boxing, right? Yeah. And getting dummied there. Would love to have seen that fight. I don't think it'll ever happen. It's just too many years have gone by, and I don't think that'll work out money-wise, but I would have loved to have seen it, and I think it could have headlined. Again, you put Conor McGregor in front of a microphone, he can sell you anything, so that would have been my main event choice, just as like a dream scenario, and it's something that's not too far out of the realm of possibility, but I don't see it happening.
Yeah, that's a good one. It's crazy to say that we're probably more likely to see Nate Diaz versus Jake Paul in the UFC than we are Nate Diaz and Conor McGregor at this point, but no, that's a great choice. I'll go with one again that we were very close to getting, and I believe fans still have hope may happen one day. John Jones versus Francis Ngannou.
That's
so close.
It was close.
We were this close. Then obviously Ngannou and the UFC had a falling out. But I feel like now Francis' stock is even higher considering the performance he had against Tyson Fury. Obviously he lost, but in the eyes of many that watched the fight, he clearly won.
I thought
so
he
to
won
have
too.
the baddest man on the the baddest man on the planet versus the greatest of all time. I mean, the fact that we didn't get it during Francis' tenure in the UFC is a crime, but if we could make these dream matches, that's the one that would be on the top of my card.
I mean, how often do we talk about dream matches never happening? You know, Mayweather versus Pacquiao took forever to happen in boxing. One fight that I could tell maybe could come up in our conversation in a minute, but GSP versus Anderson Silva never happened when we all thought it should happen many times. It never seems to work out, whether it be money or whether it be one guy just doesn't want to fight the other guy. There was conflicting reports about the John Jones, Francis Ngannou stuff. Completely agree. I thought he got robbed against Tyson Fury. Mm-hmm. And I'd be a hell of a fight. I think Jones wins that fight. It'd be a tough one again, because we don't know what, we saw Jones beat up Cyril Gane, but what did that take? Like a minute.
Yeah.
Pretty much, right? Like, and he got on top of him, choked him out. I don't think it would be that easy against Francis Ngannou, and that'd be one fight that definitely would be headline material and something that I would buy. Just back up the dump truck of money to both of those guys, and hopefully it can happen in the future.
It's crazy to think that that's probably one that, never say never. It could happen. Yeah. But just with the way the relationship fell out between Francis and the UFC and just kind of the way Dana speaks about the whole thing, it just feels like that would never really come to fruition.
Money talks, man. Money talks.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned GSP Silva. I think that would have been... Yeah. And that was probably the one for many years. Like when you had the UFC video game, that's the first one you're playing. Everyone wanted to see that fight. Two of the best of their era. Again, with the hypotheticals, obviously them being both over 40 now and kind of past their primes, I think that one would have could have headlined UFC 200, could have headlined UFC 100, and certainly could headline UFC 300.
Yeah, no, 100%. It's a fight that people would still buy just for the nostalgia factor. The high-level martial artists, GSP, sort of went off when he was at his highest and went off into the sunset and came back and still beat Michael Bisping. Anderson Silva's done some boxing here and there. He stuck around a little bit too long in the UFC. Mm-hmm. Dana White was a little bit unhappy with some of his performances towards the end of his UFC career. I mean, hey, while we're talking about dream scenarios, why? I mean, it's not going to happen, but I don't even know if he can make welterweight anymore. But hey, GSP against Leon Edwards would be a hell of a fight too. I don't know if he could, could he handle those takedown attempts from GSP? I don't know. I mean, GSP probably a little bit slower.
So you're saying right now?
Yeah, sure.
I like that. Okay.
Why not?
Yeah.
I mean, again, I don't think GSP wants to fight. He talks about the competition. To get in that mindset and to have that fire, you can't just like turn it on, turn it off like that. Even when he fought Bisping, that was a hell of a bout. And he got dummied around a little bit by a one-eyed Michael Bisping. And so I think maybe Leon Edwards can piece him up a little bit, but I'd be hell of an intriguing fight. Very, again, dream scenario wouldn't happen, but something I'd like to see.
That's cool. I think another dream scenario, but again, we'd never see it, would be Adesanya versus GSP. You kind of saw him retire Anderson Silva, and that fight a lot of people probably wanted to see would be a bit better than it was. But imagine at welterweight, Adesanya comes back and GSP comes back, and what better place to do it than UFC 300?
Oh, I would love it. I would love it. I got one more for you.
All right.
We'll talk Ronda Rousey, Miesha Tate again.
Okay.
I mean,
yeah.
Misha's gotten her arm broken, you know what I mean? But there's enough
There's
footage
history.
there. There's enough history. Ronda's sort of not, you know, kind of done with wrestling at the moment. She's got a big name, maybe even bigger now that, you know, she had the WWE machine behind them.
Oh, yeah.
They work together. I mean, she's not with WWE anymore, but now, you know, WWE and UFC are owned by the same company. Yeah, I mean, that would be something too. Somebody that can move the needle from in the women's divisions that, you know, fans are familiar with and fans want to see. And you know, two attractive women that sells fights, man. And two women with storied histories, former champions. Again, something that, again, not main event worthy in my opinion, but something that you could throw on that card easily on the pay-per-view and people would want to see it.
Absolutely. Well, you mentioned wrestling, so I'll give you one more. And again, purely hypothetical. Yeah. Now that we have the TKO merger between UFC and WWE, who wouldn't want to see Dana White versus Vince McMahon? I mean, just imagine. Not even selling this fight
like
would
80.
be incredible. I know, but he's in amazing shape. Dana's in great shape. Vince is in great shape. I think you could easily sell a pay-per-view. Maybe not the main event, but the opener. You know, if you're not a fan of the UFC and you hear this two billionaires want to fight, you're going to watch it.
Well, I mean, hey, people were super hyped up for Zuckerberg versus Elon a few months ago.
Another great fight to throw on this card.
Oh, my God.
Battle of the Billionaires.
I don't know, man. You're losing me. But
I don't know. I mean, they're all hypotheticals. I think Vince would want to do it. I think Dana would be the one to be like, okay, I don't know.
Well, he's beating up an old man.
Well, Vince is like, I mean,
I think he just recently
psychopath.
got like hip surgery or back. So he can't do it, man.
Well, he's a machine. Like, you see the pictures of him in the gym. Like, this fight would sell itself purely on the images of these guys alone staring each other down. But those were our bold predictions for what would be a dream UFC 300, but we'll leave it up to Dana White and the powers that be to book a proper card.